Om Mani Padme. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Ah Hum.
So hello everyone. I want to welcome you here to Drikung Dharma Surya for this special Dharma talk with Garchen Rinpoche and our IBC Sangha here, Mahasangha, and everyone here today. This is a very special Dharma talk. This has been a year or so in planning, and this is just kind of, as you may know, the IBC was founded 31 years ago to help Buddhists of different lineages understand each other. And one of the ways we do that is by celebrating Vesak together. Last year at Drikung Dharma Surya, we celebrated Vesak. This year, Drikung Dharma Surya will host Vesak again on June 2nd. But celebrating Vesak isn't the only way we can and we should understand each other as Buddhists of different lineages. So today, I'm very pleased that Garchen Rinpoche is here to sort of talk on the subject of inter-Buddhist understanding, and hopefully we can have a good discussion about inter-Buddhist understanding. It's something that I think we in the United States especially need because there's so many different kinds of Buddhists here. In Buddhist countries, it's very easy. There's generally one kind of Buddhist in Thailand, one kind of Buddhist in Tibet, one kind of Buddhist in Korea. But here in the West, here in the United States, so many different lineages, so many different traditions, so many different teachers. So I think this is a wonderful opportunity to hear from some of our great teachers who are here with us today and have a wonderful discussion, understanding of what it means for Buddhists who have differences and have similarities to work together. So thank you very much for coming. Oh, and so Garchen Rinpoche, they've asked me to tell you a little bit about our organization. So the IBC, we call our organization the IBC, the International Buddhist Committee of Washington, D.C. Okay. And so we founded the organization in 1986 to celebrate Vesak together. And it began as a kind of collaboration between local Tibetan temples, the Sri Lankan temple, the Thai temple, the Vietnamese temples, and the Cambodian temple. And ever since that time, we've celebrated Vesak together for the past 31 years. So this year will be the 32nd International Vesak celebrated here in Washington, D.C. And the goal of the IBC is to have the Buddhists living in the Washington, D.C. area to work together to promote the Dharma, to understand each other, and to visit each other's temples, and see if we can share what we understand.
Toma chuto da barca si de pevar tuji shoi de kare na da so da building de la tele ta chordo de na tele log di ma to normally chulok pata injective log ni de ni ga te ta so legi le yore injective 무조건 바탕치라들이 적대의 매일 접하라들이 첸들들이 차진 전쟁이다 요새 이때라서가 무조건라들이 야제고 발라동야 들마다 대화 터치 그리고 소 출력 봐야나들이 소소용이니까 요 말이나 출력 대바서 탐지들이 낭샘조 제들이 생각대와 들 때들이 요래 너를 출력 탐지가 탐지 샘셔들 동리들이 요래 들들이 산지 좀 되게 샘지 탐지 대화다 되고 동네에서 자고서 뭐 이럴 때면 들어서 출력과 용서도 같아 안 가서 제일이 가려요 뭐 매만지 샘시와서 대화 들이 맞는들 두고다 대화 요바 대체 서마야들이 돌이도 타버디라 들이라는 타도 산지 고방서바들이 돈 대라 문네들이 산지 쪽에 이제 샘진이 동나서면더니 놀라 기록주바들랑 샘들 거래 섬상마서 거래 들이 샘들 맞다고 가려요 이제나 들이 샘 맞다고 들라 다디는 유모 봐요래 대상 맞으는 들이 샘진을 배워 답치고 해서
So, my Dharma friends, thank you so much for coming, and I would like to greet all of you. And so, first of all, in this world, there are two systems. There are the various religious systems, and then the mundane worldly systems. And each of these systems has a responsibility. So first there is the mundane, the worldly system of sciences and so on. And it is their responsibility to develop and improve the well-being in this world, in the outer world, in this life, to develop the conveniences, the positive factors and material things in this life. So that is their responsibility. And then regarding the responsibility for the religious practitioners, so in general, Rinpoche says I'm not someone who has great qualities, but what we call a religion, a religious practitioner, their responsibility is to bring about the peace and the happiness within the mind, not on the outer level, to create peace and happiness in the mind. The Buddha himself it was the Buddha's goal to bring about happiness for all sentient beings and to free them all from suffering. And that's, we can say, is the general responsibility of all the religions. It is to bring happiness in the minds of the people. And that is to create harmony and happiness in this life. And then also to create happiness in future lives by taking birth in the higher realms. And then finally to ultimately attain enlightenment. That is the purpose of the Buddha's teachings. So this is how the Buddha had intended to benefit sentient beings. And so the essence of the Dharma is to tame one's own mind. That is, we have to purify our own mind. And what keeps the mind impure is the self-grasping and the afflictive emotions. So that is what needs to be purified, and with a purified mind we must engage in the benefit of sentient beings. So many people follow various traditions, religions, or traditions in the Dharma, and we think that our tradition is the authentic and the true authentic tradition. And so, however, whatever tradition we follow, what makes it authentic is that through the religion, we need to bring about the benefit and the happiness of sentient beings. And whoever accomplishes that, we can call that a practitioner of a true authentic religion or the Dharma. So we need to benefit others. The Buddha had said the Dharma is for the benefit of oneself, and the happiness of others is created. So actually the purpose of others and oneself is brought about simultaneously together. And so in order to practice the Dharma, we also need to develop some kind of wisdom, intelligence. That is, we need to know how to bring about the benefit and the happiness of self and others. So the Buddha has said, in general, all sentient beings possess the essence of enlightenment. Buddha said all beings are actually Buddhas. They are only obscured by temporary stains. So the true nature of their mind is wisdom. It is luminosity. And the temporary stain that obscures their mind, that is the false belief in a self. And because there is a self, there is also the other. So it is due to this dualistic grasping at self and other that we give rise to thoughts of attachment and aversion, and we cling to our beliefs in the concrete reality of things and their characteristics. And that becomes all the cause of suffering. And so for as long as we have this dualistic perception of self and others, it is most important that we treat others with love and compassion. So we should actually never separate from a mind of wisdom and compassion. So the mind of self-grasping, all the afflictions, is like an ice block. And love and compassion is like the warmth that naturally melts the ice block. And so therefore, whoever cultivates such a mind of love and compassion, because the ice block melts, naturally in their mind, wisdom increases. And then whatever you do with body, speech, and mind can become the benefit and the happiness of self and others. So the Buddha, in brief, had said that you must tame your own mind. This is the Buddha's teachings. So we must purify our own mind. So whether we have a lot of learning and many qualities or not, we have to think about this. So, for example, if your wisdom is great, you have a lot of great, your knowledge is great, it's vast, then to that extent you will be able to benefit sentient beings and increase the Buddhist teachings. But even if you do not have this vast knowledge, still to cultivate an altruistic mind, that is what will really bring benefit. And so we have to really think about who actually benefits from the altruistic mind and who actually is harmed if we do. First and foremost, you have to be happy. So due to that selfish mind, that grasping mind, we develop an aversion against others, competitiveness, and naturally we give rise. Then it is important also to understand that it has a cause. And the cause of that happiness is love and compassion. And it is immeasurable love and immeasurable compassion. And so all of the happiness therefore comes from that. So that is because if you have love, from love, because you love, you will also be ethical. And because you love, you will be patient. And then as a result of that, for example, as a result of practicing morality or ethics, you will find a precious human body. As a result of generosity, you will become wealthy. As a result of patience, you will find harmonious companions, have a beautiful appearance, and a long lifespan, and so on. So all of the good qualities of the higher realms come from generosity, morality, and patience. So for this reason, all of the happiness of the higher realms really depends on love and compassion. So on happiness, and then understand that it also has a cause. So this is what we need to introduce to people. And then secondly, we need to also recognize the cause of suffering. The causes of suffering are our anger, our jealousy, our greed, and so on. These are the causes of the three lower realms. So all of us religious practitioners must show that to sentient beings. Because if you understand this, if you really understand karma, then actually such a person wouldn't even need any laws of a country anymore, because knowing karma, they would naturally observe their own laws through karma. And just naturally, they would create a mind of peace and happiness. So that is why the Dharma really is so precious. It is because we understand karma that we can recognize the causes of our happiness, and we will be able to create more causes. And we recognize that nobody wants to suffer, and also that the cause of all suffering are our own afflictive emotions. So we are able to avoid more suffering. So therefore, this path is extremely important. It is the precious teachings of the Buddha. And so we call it a Buddha, or we call ourselves a Buddhist, and people say I'm a Buddhist or I'm not a Buddhist, and so on. We label each other different names, but actually we can't really label another because in the end, everyone wants to be happy, whether we are Buddhist or not. Everybody wants to be happy. And the cause of happiness for everyone is love and compassion. So this is what we need to introduce to people, to anyone. And because nobody wants to suffer, we need to avoid the causes of suffering, that is self-grasping and the afflictive emotions. So it is very important to introduce others to the workings of karma, cause and effect as a basis. And so we recognize as Buddhists that all of the suffering in the world is created by those afflictive emotions. And ordinary people don't recognize that. And because they don't recognize that, even though they don't want to suffer, they create even more suffering. So that's really our main responsibility as Dharma practitioners. And so now, even though there are many different traditions, it is, of course, everyone follows their own tradition and we all do our own practices, but then there is a common essence, a core, and that is to create those causes of happiness for all sentient beings and also oneself. And that cause ultimately is love and compassion. So if we introduce others to the Dharma in such a way, then there will be really no disharmony, then there we really find a common ground. And so even though we practice according to our own tradition, we have a shared ultimate goal. And it is our responsibility to contribute to bring about the benefit and the happiness of our country, of the world, and of all the people. And so even though personally I do not have many great qualities, as a religious practitioner, I believe that this is how we should think about it. understands that what really harms you, yourself, is actually the selfish mind, the self-grasping mind. So when we understand just that clearly, that what really brings benefit is this wish to benefit others, the altruistic mind, then you really have found an unmistaken path as a guide for sentient beings. And so, as I mentioned before, whatever religion you follow, whatever tradition you serve, the main purpose is to create peace and happiness in this world. And if you only keep that in mind, then the result will definitely be unmistaken. And so this is the effort that we should make. Practice according to your own tradition, your own religion, and practice it properly and perfectly. And also keep in mind that there is no tradition, no Dharma tradition that doesn't talk about love and compassion as the basis. And it is through that that we develop a mind of peace and happiness. For example, there's various practices like meditation and so forth that leads to that state of peace and happiness. And so in any ways, if you yourself have created a mind of peace and happiness within yourself, then you will also be able to guide others along that path. And that is also because ultimately, on the ultimate level, self and other are actually inseparable, even though now there appears to be a separation between self and other. So if we keep that in mind, then we will really be able to create the causes to bring about benefit and happiness for self and others.
say joang jwa chi bo yore tel tin tri nang chi ji chi bu ta bi ta xie dang cha do ta me ba ba na yi tri yong gu yore teng chang tel tin tri ta za be na tri sa yong cho ro la so gang ne ta bi teng me che ga dong da wen ni xie lo te ta tri jwa chi bo yore nang se gu ko yong da zang da ya bo ma ji na there is some choreography that we can chill do your there's some good watch more there's something that we should look at in Italy young the same something is some good hakona or that's some choreography gang is something and some good watch more ba shit something is all of it done there is a say there's some choreography people you ba theater and
so also nowadays, on the external level in this world, we can see that on an environmental level, that the environmental problems in this world are actually increasing. And through the Buddha Dharma, we understand that the outer environment is very strongly connected to the inner environment of the mind. On the outer level, our body consists of the 5 elements, and the body, the 5 elements of the body are connected to the 5 afflictive emotions within the mind. And so in this way, we are also connected to the outer elements, the outer 5 elements. And so nowadays, within the minds of sentient beings, hatred and jealousy blazes like fire. And that leads to disturbance of the outer elements. For example, there are many earthquakes and floodings and so forth. And so from the ultimate perspective, we can understand through the Buddha's teachings that they are all actually interconnected, and that is why that happens. And it is because if we do not tend to our inner environment, that is, if we do not purify, clean the inner environment of our mind, then naturally the difficulties in the outer environment in the world will increase. So that is something that we also understand through learning the Holy Dharma, how the outer and the inner are actually connected. connected, how the outer difficulties are connected to the inner afflicted mind. And that's also something that we should all keep in mind. It is that if we purify our inner mind, then naturally also we will contribute to the balance of the outer environment. So that is also one thing that we learn through the Buddha's teachings. So now maybe we have some time for questions.
Does anybody have any question?
Greetings to you, Rinpoche. Always wanted to see you since 2015 when I get here, and I'm happy that I get to see you today. What I'd like to find out from anyone in the monastics or anything, as we know from Theravada to Vajrayana, it's a wide field. I need to ask a question about the land at Diwachen. And as it said, the pure land of Amitabha. Is this a different teaching, or you can incorporate it in your practice also?
A different teaching as in different than...
No, when I said different teaching, I said it the wrong way. What I say, is it an exclusive teaching?
For the Vajrayana, you mean?
No. I'm saying the land beside Vajrayana. And there's a land called Land of Ultimate Bliss, which I believe, I don't know if I'm reading it the right way, that the Buddha had 3 sutras as he read to Ananda. He said, Ananda, there's a land in the West called the Land of Ultimate Bliss. When I'm asking, this land of ultimate bliss, is it an exclusive practice, or I can incorporate it in your regular practice?
Nitong chunga kilo na ko Rinpoche chande yores tini taring ave Rinpoche charto sandini kungawa chungsong imasa tireta ta thekpa som yorava tin bena thekpa chunga tini sanga ki thekpa phala tini be tisam tharing bota bo yore tini tala chitok nyamlan dewa chenkia nyamlan yobag me nyamlan yorava tini nyamlan ti korang soso ta ba nyamlan reves bena korang thekpa chunga nyamlan chenken china rava tini korang tiang soso ke nyamlan nangla ko du thup gi reves tena korang thekpa chunga ena tini dewa chenkia ki tini yoba me nyamlan yang che thup reves yana yoba me nyamlan ti korang soso ta bo shago reves kaka da bo shago reves
kaka yago mari jang 특파 지속 지발 셉지들 소시 세무 따르면이 특파를 막은 말이 라는 게 섭지 섭지 삼로 특파 치고 차대요. 같이들이 다 죽으면 삼아서 대다고 해놓고 정말이 맞다고 가사를 죽으더니 사제가 되었더니 강력 가들 때도 송월이면이 그래서 소소는 다 나도 볼까는 어떤 사제가 밤이라 소왔다니 그 사제가 밤에 semester 되어 계신 강나데 되거든이 샘지 삼정아 냠도 로고 삼 샘지라더니 대사는 저도 요리 플라스틱 냠이 지나 그 요리 강리 돈을 냠도 샘지 삼정 냠도 지와지는 로고선 로치나 들이삭바에 피바치고 요리 기왕 하세요. 좀 저기들이 랑기 샘들랑 생내력도 자치 좋대나 인기 요래 빼나 가시나 다죽고 섬들이 제로 요래 대선들이 강의들이 사지가 빨리 시험에 샷서나 샘 고랑 디스트릭 좀 고랑 사지면들이 이제 손에 들이가 빨리 쭉 섬들은 들이 산이어 밤에 생을 샤 들이 산이어 밤에 샤를 되었지는 도저고 요래 라는 강력 가들 때를 때도 봐서 내가 밤에서 왔는데 특별히 좀 탐지해야 되는 누구요?
So it's not an exclusive practice that has to be kind of practiced separately, but anyone can practice Buddha Amitabha or the prayer to take birth in the Pure Land of Great Bliss of Deva Chen. And it doesn't matter what vehicle one practices. It also, what is important, what makes the distinction really is the motivation that you have. So if you think about all sentient beings, then the motivation is vast. And so when we do this practice, we shouldn't just think about ourselves, but think that I want to practice this for the benefit of all beings. With that intention, you can pray to the Buddha Amitabha and then visualize his Pure Land, think about his Pure Land of Great Bliss of Deva Chen, and then also think that not just me, but may I and all sentient beings go there, take birth there. And actually it is, there's different deities, but it is enough to just practice a single deity. And now when you practice the Buddha Amitabha, just think that may I and all beings take birth in his Pure Land. Because if you think about others, then the benefit will be even greater. Depending on your past karmas from previous lives, you have a certain capacity to expand your mind. But the more you think about others, the more vast will be your mind. There's some people who more think about themselves and others think more about others. So it is, the vaster your mind, the better it is. And then with that mind, think of the Buddha Amitabha. And so the mind actually, no matter how vast it is, no matter how vast your intention is, the nature of the mind is always the same. It is Buddha nature. And the nature of the mind is the Buddha. And it is within this Buddha nature that the Buddha Amitabha appears when you think of him. And so if you habituate to that, then also later on after you have died, you will continue to think about Amitabha, and then you will be able to take birth in his Pure Land. So the Buddha taught different teachings according to the needs of sentient beings. And so one of those is the teachings on the Buddha Amitabha. But in terms of who can practice that, actually the Buddha Amitabha practice is a practice that really actually can be practiced in any vehicle, in all of the vehicles.
And because we have many different sanghas here today, maybe when you ask your question, also say your name, and if you belong to a sangha, what sangha you belong to.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Felicity Keeley, and I'm from Guya Samaja Center. My question has to do with the overlap of the two systems Rinpoche mentioned at the beginning of the worldly system and the religious system, and I have been operating as if they're one system. So a little bit about how to interact with the worldly system, and also how to maybe understand when you're helping others, you're making them happy, but maybe it's not an ultimate happiness. So a little bit understanding of how to work inside the worldly system as well. Thank you.
추기 녹색 송고고 열어라. 드닝은 안서양 직대는 안 들고 열어라. 이 참선 때라 때는 디스칼라 카포자고 열어라. 드닝 민망라양 다 직등 글록선 낭신 지고 열어라. 더트 록 니냠도 듣고 열어라. 드닝 디냠도 간을 두고 레스.
오. 르똥을 가까이 오면 직디방을 다 추시 받을 거야. 다바다 hin지를 고고 열래. 직디방을 다소리 차대 열래. 다들 별거를 추시 받으라. 추록들 가까이 오면 쭈랑 잡고지 사바 상고송 들이 메페조지나 다지냐 사로송 내가 제대로 대답지 추어 공선도고 요래 들이 대답은 주마 들이 다 진리 체도 지는 너 봤다나 들이 레저랑은 매일 거여 들이 추시 말이 좀제도 오고 요래 좀제 가리 동물이 주의다다가 동해지지 않으면 저런 용어를 내서 대초사다 용어를 대하고 용어를 다다 삼지삼지게 변 중에지 하고 뭐 주게 대동을 오 대하고나 오 다다 세상 유모보다 다다랑 동해겠죠 하고 소서는 대하고도 어떻게 취시와 때를 삼지지 약본 독서는 삼지지 변 삼지지 직장 매리 직장 용어 말이 취 직장 매리 용어 말이 취대 삼지지 변 마그 뽑을 신기 요리 tonto jula samsi yore chushi banda dona samsi la kogore samsi chibu na tenida chupaji samsi chungchung semchi de 사쪽 sem 미리 직장은 매일 송을 사지게 추시와서 상반은 이기를 고고를 가까이 온 말이지. 그래서 다 상반은 이 원매디 선을 토양만 보여는 저들은 뭐 추사면 저들 뭐를 가까이 기능들이 내가 문제 내마도 찾기 네가 토프요래 배나 매상 보는 때 가리 상반은 이유나 저들 뭐를 답이 주로 있어들 주룩지바데 상바등기 마지와 지와 탑 지와 뭐냐 탑 공리배가 탑송 탑을 들여 사지 탑을 개배 탑대 때문에 상바등기 쪽대 요바데 추지바데 상능기 고라 오 들때 사마리 오래 다 됐다고 고통거려야지.
So actually the worldly system and the religious, the Dharma system, are actually not separate. They're not two different things, and that is because the Dharma is love and compassion. And now in the worldly tradition, ordinary worldly people consider themselves as most important. And now, as a religious practitioner, in order to benefit them, first of all, we should not see that there is a separation between our Dharma practice and our worldly activities. So in your worldly activities, you should perform all of your activities as good as you can. You do your best in all your activities. You sustain a good intention, a good heart. And in all your activities, you are equalizing self with others. That is, you treat others the way you want to be treated. And that is Dharma practice. Conflict arises because people consider themselves as most important. And so it is because we harm others for selfish reasons that we suffer. In the end, that karma will ripen, it come back to us. But people don't understand that. And so through the Dharma, we understand the workings of karma, cause and effect. If you now suffer, it is because of your own karma that you have created in previous lives. So that is what sentient beings, ordinary people, don't understand. And as Dharma practitioners, that is what we show them. It is that we show them that it is our own negative emotions like anger and so on that are the cause of suffering actually right now already. And so this is how we need to understand Dharma. Dharma is love and compassion. It is to have a good heart. And actually, everyone has that to some extent. There is no being who doesn't have love and compassion, at least to some extent. For this reason, there is no one who doesn't have the Dharma to some extent. For example, a mother loves her child, however much she is able. Or an animal, from their own perspective, they have a capacity to love their own offspring and so on. And that love is the Dharma. And when that love becomes great, one is a Dharma practitioner. But actually the Buddha himself had said that there is not a single being who doesn't possess bodhicitta, at least to some extent. So that is what we need to identify with Dharma. It is someone who sustains a mind of love and compassion. And if you sustain such a mind, then you will have many friends, even in a worldly sense, and whatever worldly activity you do, it will become the cause of happiness. You will create the causes to achieve happiness. So if you develop love, then you are a good person, even in this world. So this is how we actually unify the worldly system and the religious system. They're actually not separate. The Buddha's teachings are actually nothing else but a method to develop love where it has not arisen, and to increase it where it has arisen, and then to further and further increase it, to not let it decline and then to further increase it. The Buddha was very skillful in means, and due to that he gave various teachings, but in the end all they are is really a method to develop love and compassion, and then everyone has that already to some extent, so it just needs to be developed. So we need to understand that basically there is no separation really between the two systems.
오, 내 거 말이야. 내 저는 마음과는 가 양상양도 빵고 착그래. 그렇게 말이야. 그렇다고 랑랑 참지 오래 주시나 좀 레지 집에들이 별은 말 고소는 고소 코랑 약고 말이야. 고소 때려 방고 제시 오래 주마시는 그 말은 누가 따도 코 약고만 없어. 하고 특별히 뒤치발 제모요래. 별은 매들도 누가 따로 고소는 막 고소도 약고 말이야. 코랑을 뛰는 게 고소도 하고서 고소 참 먹고 참까지 대다고서 주시마지 말에 제발 대요래.
For example, imagine you have a lot of money lying here and nobody is around, it's just you. So somebody who doesn't know the Dharma would just think that, well, nobody is here, I can just take that money. Nobody will ever know. But if you know the Dharma, you would think that, but if I take that money, that is stealing. And if I steal, then in the future, again and again, I will be a beggar, very poor. I can't take it. So because you know karma, you would be able to observe your own law naturally. Or for example, if you get angry, then instantly you would recognize, oh, it's the anger that is bad. I must get rid of the anger. Somebody who doesn't know the Dharma would not recognize that, and they would just blame the other person and think that it's because the other person is harming me, he is bad. But if you know the Dharma, you would recognize the fault in your own anger, and you would not be bothered with what the other person is doing or saying, but you would think that through the other person I'm able to see my own anger. So this is the difference between knowing and not knowing the Dharma.
I have a question from a Dharma brother on the live streaming. He would like to ask, how does one deal with feelings ashamed? Ashamed.
Tanati tibe nan mi tik tak yorwa tikitiva yori koran tiba maris tibe nan chikto mi tini ti song ngotsawo da yorwa ngotsawo ra ta ngotso ngotsa ya pu chig marwa ngotsa se yori ta pachi nyom chung shi bo yori ngotsa chen bo chim nam do mang bo yorwa la khare chi goris nam tok se na ta ngotsa bo chi yorwa ta nga ngotsa bo do ta nga penanga pumo ina rawa tanga ina de chogo mari pe ngotsa wo chemot nam to chik doa njimba pela khare chi goris
ti nam to go chowa chamasi nam to go chowa chamasi ngotsa wo de dani le de ngani jubde le jubde ma ti ta yongtar maang par so ka nge che ngotsa wo ma to ngotsa wo de da chi bari dani ti nam to re sa ha ko so ta 이 파자 나도 초박 가리지나 파 욕거래 뭐 차고가는 이런 말이지 뭐 차시들이 파마다 로봇이라서 벌써 완전히 주방은 이런 사바다 힘게면서 화장고 차오래 뜻이 스마야 소소라들이 레베야고요 말이 상바다 힘게면은 이 주바타 좀 차오요 오 남이 사바 힘게면도 고등을 대봐요 예상 대 화장고 차오래 인고 차고를 지라요 말이 듣고 맞잖아 오 차오래 들레좀 되겠더니 머리와 탐지 오 차오래 대머리와 치르세 남상태 고탑 절 저거래 되지 오사 총총 탐지 오사 말해줘.
So all of these feelings and thoughts that arise, like feeling ashamed and so on, come down to self-grasping. So they arise because there is self-grasping. And so actually, there is nothing, no feeling and no thought that you need to hold on to, or nothing to be ashamed about. The only thing that we really must be ashamed about is our self-grasping, our selfish mind. Each and every negative emotion that arises, you must recognize it. But there is nothing else to be ashamed about, actually, than your own negative thoughts. The only shame really we should feel is if we lose our love or the compassion towards our parents and our friends and so on. Actually, then we should think that, no, I am not really acting like a Dharma practitioner. So there is nothing, for a Dharma practitioner, there is nothing to be ashamed of, really, aside from losing our love and compassion for others. And if we lose that, then that is what will lead to all the suffering in future lifetimes. So whenever that happens, you should recognize it and feel that, oh, this is really a shame. I have lost my love, my compassion for them. And they actually are faithful, and then I am not compassionate and kind to them. So that is the only thing to be ashamed about, really, towards ourselves. But there is no need to be ashamed about anything else. So what we need to be ashamed about is just if negativity arises. For example, if we engage in negative actions like stealing or anything else. It is those actions that we should recognize and close the door to, understanding that later, after we have died, they become the cause of a lot of suffering. So only if we have done wrong and negativity arises, that we need to be ashamed about, but we don't need to be ashamed about like small things and thoughts that arise in the mind.
training mezona samsemena tengo chawre chuba de na simply ngemen tengo chawre ngo sashi temen jitibo ngo tatje zamana jire kashe de Rinpoche da yo marriage.
So now for a Dharma practitioner, what is of the greatest shame, the one thing that there is the greatest shame in this world is when we do not recognize the kindness of somebody who has been very kind to us, like our parents or anybody else, and if we then don't do anything to repay that kindness, if we treat them without love, if we lose our love, our compassion for them. So as a Dharma practitioner, being a Dharma practitioner, actually, so that's now, previously that's from a worldly perspective, but as a Dharma practitioner, the worst shame really is to lose your compassion for sentient beings. And then there's all kinds of like ordinary, like I say, worldly conventions that we feel ashamed about. So these worldly conventions are just like illusions, and they have no essence. So there is no need to be ashamed about them.
Hi, my name is Kristen Barker, and I'm from the Insight Meditation Community of Washington and also One Earth Sangha. So global climate change is a very significant issue threatening all human beings and all beings on Earth right now. And so I'm wondering what the role of the Dharma and the Sangha are in helping us respond to climate change and all the things that we're doing that don't seem like we're hurting other beings. We're just driving our cars and flying to see relatives, or eating the diets that we want to eat and buying our electricity, but they're actually causing a lot of harm to the planet and other beings in the future and even now. So what is the role of the Dharma and the Sangha in helping us all respond to climate change? Thank you so much for coming.
tiang so so miki chulang la ra le ki yo ra ba ta ngan so 땅에서 쳐봐이나 되니 쳐당 겐등 안서 랭겐 카레 요레스 되게 띵오네라 카인스나 안서 빼나 모터 타야 다방에서 모터 땅고 요러봐 되니 남도 나나 도고 요러봐 띵오네 세나티 잠볼랭 남시데라 빼 코레라 빼 누고 요레 띵어서 칼락 사거리 사고러봐 되니 담에나 방서 인심이 치고래가 요러봐 이네 안 내가 대한 땡상서 잠볼랭 코요라 빼 누고 요러 코르기 누나 되니 남시양 견도고 요레 Tingan so kendum baina ra tingan so ta lengken so khara yare tikola
Chutang zabel ni chim thugle da pa chabe trap yore de na ta simchi nang sabatha joala so bata ta nyumo parada tharin dogo tere ki jukthar sagan thodo yare to so chokche thogo mari le thodo yore ona ta kansa rana ki kare Sambatang Jinji Tapo Jam, Sambatang Jinji Tapo Majam, Sagang Torsona Rangatri, Dadi Baksha de Matorna, the Dongi Yongo, Sagang Demana, Sagang Jita Mangoyori, Tesson Sagang the Mangon Toriari, the Taturia Pacha, Cedo Zoya, remember Cedo, Galeka Zodoyari, the Soso Le Pacha Jongari. They don't want to simply tamshira to the Sabata in Juna, they Dadi Bacha, the Tar, so that there is Sabata in Jishokta, Sambat Semi, but he just said me like the Chevipa, Bolivia Machina, and Jackie Zabel Koyok Delta, Ramji, the two will let the Pachaka and Tokoramane, so the Jaya your Maris.
Oh, so this is the last question. After that, we have to end. And so Rinpoche said, so the world is a creation of our collective karmas and habitual imprints, our karmic imprints. And nowadays, it is then the world is degenerating mainly because within the minds of sentient beings, the afflictive emotions are becoming increasingly coarse, increasingly intense. And as a result of that, in the end, the world will come to an end. And because it is the karma that has been created, because of karma, we cannot prevent that. The world is going to one day come to an end. But what is important is that we within ourselves do not create the causes for that, and that is love and compassion. To hold on to love and compassion and to destroy the negative imprints, the self-grasping within the mind. It is because of the increase of negativity in the minds of beings, of self-grasping and so on, that also the outside environment becomes disturbed. And all suffering and all conflict in the world comes from that. So the best contribution that we can make is to destroy our own self-grasping, our own negative imprints. Because if we do not destroy our own self-grasping, then there will be no end to suffering. And even if this whole world comes to an end, there is many other worlds like that. And then we take birth in those worlds and we continue to suffer. So this particular world in the end will come to an end in the future, and then there's many other worlds where we take birth. And now in a smaller sense, our own life is coming to an end. Slowly but surely the life is coming to an end. So before that happens, from our own perspective, it is most important that we let go of those negative karmic imprints in our own minds by cultivating love and compassion for sentient beings. So sustain a mind of an ongoing, continuous mind of immeasurable love and immeasurable compassion. Make an effort to develop love and compassion. And that naturally will also affect the outer world and the environment. But because the world is a creation of our habitual imprints, our collective habitual imprints and karmas, that in the end, at some point, it will come to an end, and we can't really actually prevent that.
Thank you, Abertanka.
Thank you all very much. We'll be here tomorrow for Bumsok at 2:30 and again at 7 o'clock. And on Friday at 10 o'clock, we'll be here for Bumsok, 100,000 mantra accumulation, Padmasambhava for the benefit, the long life of Garchen Rinpoche. And Friday will be the Vajrayogini empowerment. And this weekend will be teaching and practice on the POA, the Great Drikung POA practice. And we will be live streaming, yes. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you. Mani Padme Hum.